Welcome to the Dear Son Show. We have meaningful conversations about life through the lens of fatherhood, typically. But this is the month of March, so the women's series is back. We have an amazing guest, and I'm going to do my best to not butcher her name. We have Chika Onunkwo in the building. How are you?
You got that right. You did not.
I got it
butcher
right?
the name. Yes, you did.
Dope. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for inviting me to your show this morning.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Where are you? Where are you located?
I'm actually in New Jersey.
Okay.
Jersey. Yeah, I'm in the Northeast, New Jersey.
Passaic,
Eagles Fair.
Teaneck, what part?
No.
So am I in the range?
No, that's north. So I'm more central south. So think
Willingboro?
Princeton, Bordentown. Oh, yes, around. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm in Bordentown, not too far from
Okay.
Willingboro. Mhm.
Yeah, we had an office in Marlton, New Jersey when I was in
Oh,
corporate. So I was in and out of Jersey quite a bit. Is
yeah.
that where you were born and raised?
No.
Where's home?
So, I was born in Nigeria.
Okay.
Yeah. And at 16, I moved here to go to college. So, my parents had a house in Philadelphia. So I
Okay.
kind of moved to Philly, went to Seton Hall, then went to Temple, got married, got to Jersey.
Gotcha. What was
Mhm.
life like? What part of Nigeria? All I know is Abuja and Lagos. I don't know much more than that.
Yeah, so those are like the big cities, right? And then you have a city called Port Harcourt, which is not as crowded as Lagos and Abuja, but it's more like where the oil industry, anyone that works in the oil industry in Nigeria, they're usually in Port Harcourt because Shell, the company,
Okay.
is there, situated there. So yeah, it's used to be known as a garden city. It's beautiful, small, almost reminds me of like a little beautiful city, but now it's not the same as it was in the 80s. So it's a little
Wow.
different. But yeah, that's kind of where I grew up.
That's interesting. I when I was in corporate, I was working for what was at the time the largest Department of State contractor in Africa.
Mm.
So I got real familiar with sub-Saharan Africa. I never made it to Nigeria, but we had contracts in Niger, Ghana, Togo, Benin, all the way down to like Malawi. I've only been to Uganda, Djibouti, Ethiopia,
Wow.
Rwanda.
Now you're just showing off.
No, well,
I've never been to any of these places
really,
before except Ghana. Ghana, Ghana. That's
yeah.
it.
I haven't been to Ghana. I actually believe in my heart that I'm West African descent.
Mhm.
I haven't done the test, but I'm just claiming it. Somewhere between there and Jamaica. That's what my made up uh,
You probably
ancestry
are.
is.
We all
I'm
are. Even in
I'm taking it
Jamaica, they're Africans too. Everyone's African. You
for
know,
sure, for
that's
sure.
where we came from. So I'm sure I'm seeing a little Nigerian, maybe Igbo too in you.
Really. So
I don't know.
my family and I, we lived in Dubai for 3 years when I
Okay.
was managing that region for supply chain. And everybody would tell my wife that she looks Ethiopian.
Huh.
People from Ethiopia
Really?
would tell her that. I always got West African. They thought my children were kind of from different places because they all have different, kind of different skin tones.
Yeah.
But just interacting with in a multicultural, we say the U.S. is multicultural, but I felt like my time in Dubai and working directly with people from different countries in Africa gave me a different appreciation for what we don't actually get to understand from an American perspective.
Mhm.
What was your life like growing up there, and what was the biggest transition for you coming to the States?
Growing up in Nigeria or in Africa in general, but I'm just going to speak specifically about Port Harcourt. That's where I grew up. It was beautiful. Africa in general, Nigeria in general, every doctor you go to, every surgeon you go to, every professor you go to, not every, 99%, look like you. They're black. So every engineer that you met or just pilot, everyone just looks like you. So in my little head, that's what Black people do. That this is all we do, right? Where the Black excellence was like normal in Africa. Yes, granted, you still had some other people in Africa working, but majority of the time, when you go to a hospital, when you go to a school, where you're boarding a plane, they look like you. So for me, that was normal. And my dad definitely drove excellence. My dad was a civil engineer, and he did a lot of work, contracting work with Shell. That's why we lived in Port Harcourt, because his company was there. So we grew up in a household watching my dad do his thing. He had a couple, foreign employees, and just the people around us were all doing very well. So, and they all look like me and you. So after high school, I got to the airport, got here. Granted, that was not my first time in America, because we would visit on holidays. So, but I think the transition here, when I was fully here, was shocking, because I saw a difference in how Black people were looked at here versus Nigeria. Obviously, we were the majority, and so everything we didn't have that discrimination, although a little bit tribal, but that's for another day. But just in general, based on how you look outwardly, we didn't have any discrimination. But here, definitely, I felt it. I mean, in my head, I'm thinking black excellence. I'm well educated. My parents are educated. Like, why are you looking at me funny? But I had to adjust that. Unfortunately, people are going to judge you by what they see outwardly. So yeah, that was definitely a shock. I did hear a lot of because I had an accent, a thicker accent then. So I did hear a lot of the, like the lion kind of jokes and all that stuff. But yeah, that was shocking. But I'm grateful that I grew up in a household where my dad like instilled a lot of confidence. So that situation right there, I mean, cold, monkey, and all that did not break me. It was me looking at you funny, like, well, why would you say that? Yeah, I have an accent, but no, I don't ride around, in the dust and all whatever they say. But yeah, it was shocking at first, but I wouldn't say it broke me, because I had a lot of confidence growing up because of my dad.
Was the name calling and the funny looks from us or from others?
Ooh, you want to go there? It was from us, but
Yeah, you can say it.
I think for me, I don't know if it was serious. It was like just joking, right? We tend to joke a lot. I don't think it came from a place, I want to be honest. I don't think it came from a place of like, oh, I want to hurt your feelings. I think it's just what people hear about Africa, and just they jokingly say it, right? Without thinking how it impacts a person. So I want to say I don't think it came from a place of hurt. Or they're trying to discriminate against me. I think it was just like, oh, I heard in Africa, blah, blah, blah. So for me, I think it's like they were joking. That's how I saw it. Right?
Yeah, I
None
can
of those things defined me.
for sure, and that's a beautiful perspective. I can say that it was ignorance, and the reason I can stand on saying it was ignorance, because I saw my ignorance when I started working, supporting contracts in those countries, visiting, interacting, having employees or coworkers that were from other countries. And the reason I ask that is because, I call the USA the United States of arrogance at times, because we
Ooh.
we tend to go everywhere and expect people to adjust to us.
Yeah,
And we look at people funny when their English is not what we think it is, though we don't
right.
necessarily have a mastery of English in all
Yeah.
cases. Story for another time, right?
Yes.
And you,
Uh-huh.
by saying that, you've committed to another conversation, so I'm just gonna store that.
Oh, okay.
Um, but when I visited Uganda specifically, well, that was the first country that I landed in and spent time in. I've been in airports and things like that, but actually working amongst people, going to the markets, I felt like people were looking at me strange, but in hindsight, I don't know if I was giving off my Americanism. You know what I'm
They
saying?
can
That was
tell.
kind of right, right.
Mhm.
And I it was interesting to me because it opened my eyes to, if I believe this about me being in somebody else's country,
Mhm.
what have I done, or how do I accept or not accept people that don't appear to be from my country, or from, you know, my common background,
Mhm.
or my norms. You mentioned your dad quite a few times, and of course that was the intent behind this conversation. What kind of man was he to you?
I don't know. I told my sister I was doing this podcast just randomly yesterday, and she's like, "Wow, it's so apt that you're talking about dad, and that this topic is about dad." And yeah, I had a we grew up in a family. We're six, two boys and four girls, and in Nigeria, the hierarchy, or like the who you are from birth, matters. So I'm the oldest daughter, and I'm called the Ada. And that in the Igbo culture is very powerful. Like the first boys are powerful, but then the firstborn girls are even more powerful, if I'm to say that. So I was born as the Ada, and that comes with a lot of responsibility, but it's also very powerful to be an Ada. So I grew up with a father that didn't have a father. Well, his dad um, died when, or was killed, or whatever. That's a story for another day. But his dad died when he was, I think he was about a year old. Normally, he wouldn't. You wouldn't expect someone like that grew up without a father to have such fatherly instincts, but my dad did. My dad was such a loving man. He provided for his kids, and when you hear provide, most people think financially, which is true. He certainly did. We went to the best schools and would come visit America summertime, go to Disney World. Like he provided um, financially, no doubt. He paid for all our education from top to bottom, like college, professional, and everything. So I definitely love my dad for that. But then he provided emotional support. He provided. He was a good dad. He was emotionally available. He spoke life. I didn't know what words of affirmation was when I was little, but that's what my dad did. He didn't want to hear you can't do this because you're a girl. He empowered all four of us. They call us the lioness. Well, actually, they called us lions. Should be lioness, but anyway, they call us four lions because we were all very, very aware of our worth, and he loved that. But he was also a traditional man, and tradition in the sense that yes, you're empowered. I'm empowering you. I'm giving you education. I want you to be the best you can, but I also want you to remember your role. If you do decide to get married, you're supposed to be a woman that will honor her husband and respect her husband, and not, be so proud that you think you're more. You guys are equal. You guys should work together. He was very particular about that because yeah, he always used to say, you know, go there and represent the family, work hard, honor your husband, respect your husband. And I don't want to hear anything from you guys unless he gets physical with you. And if he does get physical with you, come back home. I got you. So besides that, no one's perfect, and just make it work. But so I say that to say my dad was a great man. He grew up with nothing. Obviously, his dad died at one, and he had to kind of fend for the rest of his extended family because his mom went on to have more children. And he was the first son. So he also had that responsibility of the first son, which is Obala. I'm Ada and he's Obala. So he had to take care of his mom, his siblings. There were 8 in total. And he did that. He did that gracefully. He did that by working really hard. He did that by, believing in himself. Like sometimes I wonder how someone in that kind of environment grew up, starting his own company, having different contracts with Shell, building roads, bridges. He did things that even till date, I have a big shoe to fill. We all say that. We can't, I don't know that we could do that, but he did all that, but he still never forgot where he came from. He had like different, like, foundations. Because he grew up with nothing, he just never forgot where he came from. He had foundations for people in the villages to go to school, from elementary to college. He built roads for his community for free. He empowered different people to do different jobs. He built one of his last dreams. He always said this before. He's like, before I retire and before I, just kind of relax, because he worked hard all his life. But he said, I want to build a church. I want to renovate and build a huge church for my community. I also want to bring the fact that he's a faith-filled man. He believed in that we're here to serve a purpose. We're here to not only receive, but to give back. And he did that every single day of his life. He wasn't a perfect guy by any means. My dad sometimes will, he's driving us to church and someone cuts him off. He's like, what the fuck? I'm like, Dad, you can't say that. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. So he was not a perfect man, but he was a loving father, and he was a kind man. That's my dad.
What did you learn most from the things that he didn't say, from his character?
What he didn't say, my dad never complained about working hard. He just felt like that's what needed to be done. He never complained about my mom being a stay-home mom. She was a stay-home mom. He never complained about anything he did, but I know, yes, he didn't say that the burden is heavy, but I believe it was for him. I mean, he never said that because, you can't show how weak you are. But I know sometimes, you can see it on him that it's kind of a lot.
What was the responsibility of being that oldest daughter, seeing what was modeled in front of you? You referenced that they're large shoes to fill.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel that weight growing up, and how did you manage through that? I'm married to an oldest child. That's why I'm asking that question.
I'm not an oldest child. I'm the oldest daughter.
Well,
yeah, but yeah, I got you.
Yes.
Definitely the weight was there. My dad always used to say, you set the examples for your siblings. So whatever you do, they do. If you go to college and you get straight A's, they kind of have to do that. If you don't get pregnant, they won't get pregnant, statistically speaking. And so the weight was definitely there. It was like, okay, your younger ones are watching. You got to take care of
If you don't get pregnant, they won't get pregnant.
Right. Well,
Gotcha.
That's what everyone's different, but they're saying like, I think his whole thing is like, when you set a standard, it goes from there. So now if you get pregnant out of wedlock, I can't tell your siblings they can't do that because you already did, right? So, but like, if you don't, we're going to look at them funny. Like, why would you do that? Why would you even think about doing that? Your older sister never did that. So I think that was where he was coming from. So it was like, stay and be hardworking, take care of your siblings, do the right thing at all times because they're watching. So definitely that was a lot of pressure. But I also think that they were very involved in the day-to-day and they were very reassuring. I messed up quite a few times. Okay. So, but I think he was more concerned about the basics. Go to school. Don't get pregnant. Don't forget that God exists. Every other thing in the middle, yeah, you're allowed to mess up as long as you kind of work your way back up. So, but the pressure of your younger ones are watching was definitely there.
How did he receive you when you did slip up? What was his counsel like when you did make mistakes?
So my dad's 82. He's going to be 82 this year. So about growing up, I'm just trying to tell you how old he is. So his mentality was my dad. I remember growing up, when you mess up, my dad was big on, by the time I get home, which is usually, back then was like 6:30, you have no reason to be out. Like, I don't care what it was or what you think you're doing. By the time that gate is open and I'm driving in, you better be home. So, and I messed that up quite a few times, and he definitely punished. Okay. But that's the thing is, when he punishes, and when I say punish, sometimes he would yell and sometimes he would smack. Okay. And then with the smacking, when it got to that, after he smacked you, because um, he would come later on, lay by your bed and say, I hate doing that, but do you understand why I'm doing that? And that just always stuck with me, because men, or I don't want to generalize, but people back then, he was born in 19 whatever, he's 80 something years old. They never apologize. They never want you to see. They usually don't. I hate saying never. They usually don't. They just say, this is my rule. You messed up, and that's what you get. They don't come back and try to repair immediately to say, okay, what you did was wrong. I smacked you, but here's why I did that. Whether we choose to use that discipline now or not, that's besides the point. I just think the point was, back then it was a norm. And for him, he still took time to say, okay, this is what happened. Now, how do we move forward? And that always stuck with me. That always made me realize, yes, he had to discipline, but he cares. Like, there's a human being behind that man, that dad figure. And that's why my dad could do no wrong in my eyes.
That's interesting. I came from a physical discipline father as well. My mother my mother only beat me one time, and it took so much for me to get her to that point. My dad saw it and he was like, hey, this is not your lane.
That's right.
I'll handle this.
I got
But
this.
the last time that he physically punished me, it was deserving. I never felt like it wasn't deserving. It got to a point where I just kind of calculated it because I was that child.
Mm-hmm.
But the last time he did it, as soon as he finished, he went in the room next door and was crying, and I could hear him. And he came back and he apologized, and he said, I made you feel like less than a person. Because at that time, I was looking my dad in the eye. I think I was 12 or 13, probably 12, but at 12, I was like 5'11", 150, 160 pounds. And my dad was 6 feet, 6'1". So he was saying that, like, you had to lay there and take this punishment, even though you were wrong. That's not how I want you to see me as a man. He was like, next time we'll square up. Well, it never came to that, because I would never, like, I don't get that. I don't get dads that are looking forward to squaring it with their sons, or sons that want to square it with their dads. To each his own, but I just never, I had that much reverence for him. But him apologizing that particular time kind of set the tone. And I found the value, I've seen the value in apologizing to my children. I never physically disciplined my daughters, because I couldn't. I had daughters first. My oldest son comes along. He was number 3 of 5. And I thought he was a punching bag. I was like, oh, we can be rough and tough. And I realized that I was just carrying forward an approach that was necessary for me, but not necessary for him. And I came to that conclusion probably around the time he was 7, 8. He's 18 now. and then the children after him never received it. But I do believe it is important to apologize to your children. This whole podcast was birthed from me realizing that the relationship with my oldest son, who was around 12 himself at that time, maybe 13, I had such a hands-off approach because I wanted to treat him so different than my dad treated me, but that wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
I was treating him different out of spite for my dad, but I wasn't addressing his needs as my son. So this whole podcast, Dear Son, What I Wish My Father Told Me, is the whole subject was keeping me accountable to having conversations with him. And, it's kind of birthed this thing that it is now. One of the things that my dad wished that he had told me, and we have these conversations, he's like my biggest fan, the show's biggest fan. So it's not a bashing platform at all. But he wished that we had more conversations around sex and commitment to a woman. Clearly, I'm not going to ask you about sex, but you laid the groundwork of your father talking to you about what it is to be a wife and respect your husband. How early did those conversations start, and how much of it stuck with you? Because I'm kind of curious of how that panned out when you came to the U.S., if you dealt with any of us while you were here.
Oh boy. Well, he just said that, like, don't get pregnant, and that was it. We didn't really have a conversation, to be honest. And funny enough, my mom just kind of randomly like gave me this. I was a little misunderstood as a child, because I loved hanging with boys. Okay. I just felt like girls, the drama was just too much. So like with the boys, you just kick it, you just say stupid stuff and you go home. Nothing heavy. For me, that's but then people would see me with boys and think, oh, she must be X, Y, and Z. So my mom kind of was also wondering the same thing. Not that I didn't have a lot of I had one or two or three female friends, but the rest were boys. I loved hanging with the boys. And my sisters always used to like say, I remember the sister after me was like, why are you always with boys? In my head, I'm thinking, I'm not doing anything with them. I'm just in their company. So I think my mom got a little nervous. And the only thing she did was just give me this book about how not to get pregnant. We didn't really talk about it. Yeah, we didn't really talk about it.
How not to get pregnant?
Yeah, well, like how you can get pregnant and how
I understand.
stay away from boys. I forget what the book was called. It was probably when I was 14. And so that was the extent of the conversation. To be honest, that was it. I chose to do it a little different with my children, but for me, that question, how did you talk about that? We didn't talk about it. My dad just said, "Don't get pregnant," and my mom just kind of gave me a book and said, "Read this." And I'm like, "Read this," and I kind of looked at it. I was like, "Okay." So I think that the book was called "Sex and Conception," and I was like, "Okay." I never read the book, but yeah, that was the extent of that.
Yeah, my dad gave me a book called On Becoming a Man, and all I know is the title of it. I don't think I ever cracked the page of it. But for me, it sounds like you had I don't want to suggest what it was, but I grew up in a house where I knew I was loved. We didn't say I love you a lot. We didn't have a lot of deep conversations about things that I was struggling with, right? I didn't use my words to tell them. I didn't because my parents are very religious. There was no exception. There was nothing other than this is how it is. So when I found myself being like kind of drawn to things that didn't reflect that, I didn't think I could have conversations with them, which created a gap, right? And I went out into the world and figured some things out that I probably could have had some conversations to at least have a reference. Not to say I wouldn't have done the same thing, but at least have a reference. And I try to be mindful of that with my children today. So we're a lot more open in conversation. Again, a lot because this platform gets me talking. I'm a guy with a podcast that doesn't talk a lot, other than
I can't tell.
Well, yeah, ask around. But what what things are more front of mind for you? Are you more focused and intentional about with your children? I know you have boys. I don't know if you have daughters as well, but
I
I
do.
guess let's start there. What is your family makeup right now?
So I'm married because a lot of people, I don't know what it is. I don't know. Maybe it's the type of content I make and I'm talking to women a lot. Most people are like, yeah, that's why you single women. I'm like, I'm not single. I'm talking to my sisters. I'm not single. Nothing wrong with being single, but I think I don't know if it's a vibe or the content, but I am married. I've been married to the love of my life since we met and I was in college actually. So that was I'm gonna date myself right now. I met him at a Super Bowl party. It was New York Giants and Ravens.
Now you're really dating
2001.
yourself. Now
2001.
you're absolutely
Yeah,
dating
I'm
yourself now.
aging myself. It was 2001. And I went to this party. I was myself acting a fool, and he was like, who's that girl? And then, anyway, so fast forward 2026. So we've been married since I think we celebrated our 20th year anniversary not too long ago. So I've been married to the same guy for 20 years. And I have 3 kids. I have 2 boys. My oldest is going to be 19. Then I have 17 and I have a daughter that I prayed for, my baby. She's 14. So I have 3 kids.
What things are well, let me stop because you met him in college. Is he one of us or is he of
Now, why would
African?
that matter?
I'm asking. I mean, because I'm wondering. Like it's always interesting to me when
Uh-huh.
African women come here
Mm.
and we get one of you.
Mm-hmm.
Just seems interesting to me
Oh,
because some of us
I
are
misunderstood.
so different.
I misunderstood. When you said, is he one of us? I thought you meant,
African American. Is he Nigerian? Is he where's he? What's his
I
background?
thought you were talking about a different race when you said one
No,
of
no, no.
us. Oh,
Well, that would be applicable too. But
okay,
yeah,
because that's usually what people say. But no, he's actually Nigerian too.
okay.
Yeah.
But you met him. You met
Um,
him here. You met him in the States.
yeah, I met him at a party. It was so
Okay.
random. I dated other guys, Nigerian and African Americans, when I went to college at 16. So my dating, other people were like 17, 18, about that. And then I met him shortly after, I think 2 years after I got to college. So it's been me and him for a very long time. But for the other people for the 1 year or 2 years I was here, yeah, I did date African Americans, Caribbeans, and Africans. I think I messed around one Caucasian, but that was it. But
It's
usually,
your prerogative.
um, huh?
So that's your prerogative. You do what you want
Well,
to do.
clearly it wasn't. I mean, I ended up with an African man, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's Nigerian as well.
Was that it? Was that important to you, or like even intentional, or just because of similar backgrounds, did you just things just resonate as they naturally would with people of similar backgrounds?
This question is kind of hard. Okay, so growing up, my dad had expectations, which was crazy. So his expectations. Now, this is gonna ruffle a lot of feathers, but
The feathers are to be ruffled.
oh well. His expectations were, one, he has to be Nigerian. He didn't say African. He said Nigerian. Not just Nigeria, Igbo, which is a tribe. I'm like, okay. So that was the expectation. Number two, not just Igbo, the particular state. So we're from Anambra. He's like, I want you to marry an Anambra man. So now you're talking, it must be America. Think about this. Then it must be in the Northeast. Then now he must come from Jersey. That's how specific it was. Okay. Because obviously that's where we're from. And number two, he had to be Christian. You say, okay, well, that makes sense. No, he had to be Catholic because most Africans, not all, some Africans are Catholics. He's actually a knight in the Catholic Church. So he's like, he has to be Catholic. Okay. I'm like, okay. I ended up with a Nigerian, Igbo, Anambra man. So I did narrow down, and I didn't do it because honestly, in college, I wasn't thinking about that. It just happened, to be honest. I was at a party when I met him, and he was not Catholic. So I was like, Dad, listen, but this is all I can give you. You could have been any other race, any other country. I'm giving you kind of what you want, but not 100. So you better take it and run. And so he took it and ran.
Did you?
And I have other siblings too, who, by the way, other sisters, who, by the way, did not meet the first criteria, which is Anambra. They met the Igbo, but not the Anambra. So we all married, except one married Yoruba, a different tribe. But yeah, we all kind of married Nigerian men. They were not Catholic. So yeah, I was one of 2 or 3, whatever his criteria was, 3 or 4. My sisters were like 2 or 4 and 1 of 4. So yeah. And he was fine.
That's what I was going to ask. So when he was fine, was it a big conversation? Was he giving you this guidance, clearly from a good place, but to kind of ensure the best outcome in his mind, but ultimately he was going to be fine with he trusted what he'd instilled in you to be fine with your choice? Or did you think you really had to get that close to the pin? If you went completely opposite, do you think he would have accepted it?
Oh, so he accepted it from my other siblings. Again,
okay.
I kind of set the standard, again, the oldest daughter. So I set the standard because I met 3 out of 4. And by the way, even with the church thing, the Catholic thing, which is where I defaulted, we actually ended up doing the church thing in a Catholic church. So he's like, listen, you're not Catholic, but would you mind doing this for me? Just so in my head, I fulfilled that. And so we did. My husband was so gracious enough to say, you know what, it's the same God. I don't care. Let's do it. We both go to a non-denominational church right now, so it doesn't really matter. But we just did that for my dad. And so I don't think my dad would have had a problem. In Nigeria, he's quite prominent, and a lot of people were coming to him to say, hey, you have daughters. I hear they're doing really well. Hook us up. And my dad would always say, like, listen, my kids, it's not like they don't come around. They do come around. So if your son's trying to holla, have your son holla. Like, my dad was not playing that. He's like, I'm not going to do matchmaking. You're my friend. You got some cheese. I get it. But we're not doing that with my girls. They're going to marry. And he was very particular about that. You have to marry out of love. He always used to say, money comes and goes. Like, and I don't want you to see. And I think that's why my dad also splurged on us, because he's like, I don't want you to see money as like a god. Like, money comes and goes. Don't marry someone because of money. And by the way, that's why you're getting an education. I could have bought that Lambo, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to spend that money on you, making sure that you guys are well educated. So you have no reason to marry someone because you think you can't do it out. Like, you can do it on your own. So he was very particular about marrying for love. And I know he always used to, when you come to him and say, Dad, I met someone. He's like, give me a year. After a year, you come back. If you a year to, I think some of my sisters, he did 6 months, but 6 months or a year. If you still feel the same way, then we'll have a conversation. So that was kind of his thing. Oh, I met this guy. Really? Do you like him? Do you know him? What do you know about him? And all of that. And Nigeria, they do this thing where you can say the person's name and automatically, you know, like the family, and people go ask, how was that family? Are they good? Do they have a lot of divorce rate in their families? Weird things like that. So in the background, he's doing that detective work, right? And if he finds anything, he's just going to say, did you know this? And did you know that? And at the end of it all, if that's still what you want, he's going to give his blessings. I mean, obviously, he's going to have a talk with the guys and he's going to feel them out and just see is this something that, I can handle? Is this a big deal or not? He loved my husband.
All of what you said about him and his career suggested that there was affluence, that there was resources and abundance. I was assuming you kind of confirmed it.
Then.
Well, I mean, it's not my business. But like, how did that shape what you value when you
Mhm.
came to the U.S. and like
Yeah,
ultimately what you saw in your husband?
yeah.
Because I think those relationships are key, whether they're positive or negative, in how women see, understand, and feel about the man that they choose.
Yeah. So I honestly believe, and now I try not to say everything or everybody. There are always um, people that are going to be different, but I feel like every daughter kind of looks at her dad, and that behavior and that whole personality of the dad, that's what they look for in a man, whether you think of it that way or not. Because in retrospect, I'm looking at my husband, I'm like, yeah, you kind of remind me of my dad. And I'm gonna tell you something. He was 10 years, my husband's 10 years older than I am. I don't have baby daddy issues, or I mean daddy issues, but I just, first of all, he doesn't look his age. He looks amazing for someone 10 years older than me. So I didn't know at the party.
Not
I'm like,
my business. Yeah, yeah, it's not my business.
I'm just saying. So, he just, again, if you grew up if you have a good relationship with your dad, what you see is what you're looking for in a man. If you have a bad relationship with your dad, unfortunately, what you see is what you're going to attract. So, thank goodness my dad was such a great example. He was a family man, wasn't a womanizer. We didn't have any issues of people knocking down the door saying your daddy this and your daddy that. He wasn't that. He had money, but he had respect for his family. I always said my dad was an introverted extrovert. He loved to party and have a good time, but he loved being at home with his family. And that was very important to us. Like, there's nothing wrong. We can have fun at home. There's nothing out there, right? So he loved being at home. It was cancer, crabs, I guess, but he loved being at home. But then when it was time to party, he was a life of a party. You're like, okay, what's going on here? But that was him. He loved having a good time, but that good time had to have an expiration date. All right, we're done now. And let's go back to what truly matters, which is my family. So that's who my husband is. Not loud. I'm kind of loud. I think all the girls are loud in my family, but not loud, very level headed, but sure of himself, very confident enough to let me fly, and he's cool. Loves my children. He's a little traditional when it comes to discipline and his approach to parenting. And we kind of had to like level set as the kids got older to kind of see, okay, let's see what's working and let's try that. And it's a balance because I tend to be old before I was on the extreme and he was on the extreme. So we kind of met in the middle. And I think
Yeah.
that's working beautifully.
Your sons are 19 and 17.
Going to be 19. Yeah.
So I have a son that'll be 19 this year as well. Today,
Oh,
my children are 22, 20, 18, 12, and 11.
oh, wow.
So it's interesting. And then my oldest um, decided we were ready to be grandparents.
Ah, okay.
So I have a
Well,
granddaughter.
congrats. It's a
But
beautiful thing.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't undo it at this point.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
it's it's revealed a whole lot about me having, well, now a third generation in the house, but I have children with the age gaps that we have. I see things that I missed with the older ones, and I try to catch it with the
Hmm.
with the younger ones. Um, I love the fact that you and your husband talked about your parenting styles and came to an agreement. I think my wife and I will it'll be 21 years of marriage for us
Well,
next month.
congrats.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
next month. So we had a lot more conversations late. Better late than not had at all, but just some things came. We became mature enough to actually use our words, both of us, to have conversations, that with how we're raising children and what we expect of them. How much of your father's influence kind of informs how you are in the household?
Hmm. You mean in terms of discipline or?
How you show up. I mean,
Mhm.
it's kind of easy to pick and choose. Like, well, I'll say for me, I'm good at picking out a thing that I do well and talking about that. But when I look at my overall approach, I see I still got some areas to
We
improve
all do.
or
Mhm.
that kind of thing. But just the relationship, like I'm trying to draw the parallel of the value of a father in his
Mhm.
daughter's life
Mhm.
as long as possible
Mhm.
when she has her own life,
Mhm.
that the dividends paid by, you know, how she shows up in life, from my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. So I think he was emotionally connected to his children. He was busy. He was a busy man running companies and stuff, but he was emotionally connected. And I think that made a huge difference in all our lives, not just me, but my sisters. He showed up, he was present, he would ask questions. Because see, sometimes, like, and I get this a lot, and maybe I should just a lot of comments on my page, emotional moms. I get comments from men that just say, "Oh, all these issues will be solved if the women just let the man stay at home. All these issues will be solved if because you're single women. That's why you're having these issues with your sons." And I'm like, there's such a thing as someone being at home. Let's just forget single, even the married couple. You could be married at home with a husband, with children, and they're still lacking because you're not available emotionally. You're present, but you're absent. So let's leave the single women alone for a second. You, as men, are you present in your children's life? Or are you working? Not to say you can't work. Are you just working, coming home, and then you're absent? Because if that's what you're doing a disservice to your children. Yes, you're married. Yes, you're present, but you need to be emotionally involved and present in your kid's life. And I see that. Like, you're there, but you're not there. The kids are like drowning, but you're not there. You're not emotionally present. And so, yes, is it better to, and I'm like, in a perfect world, we would have a father and a mother, both physically and emotionally present, pouring into their children, correcting, disciplining, being firm and consistent in a perfect world. But we all know we don't live in a perfect world. We're going to have fathers that are there that think that their only job is to provide financially, and then everything else is left to the mother. We're going to have maybe even fathers that are not working and are not physically present. They're just there. And then everything, the burden is on the women, vice versa. I'm not here bashing men or women. I'm just saying, just because you're home, just because you're a father title doesn't mean that you're doing right by your children, doesn't mean that your children are going to turn out right. Are you physically, emotionally available and connected to your children? Are you loving them? Are you taking the time not just to correct, but to connect? I always say connection comes before correction. If I have a child and all I'm doing is, you're not doing this, you're talking and you feel good, or something. I did that for years. And that's why I started my page. It does nothing but put a dent to your relationship, but to make the kids go silent and shut down. You're not doing anything. You might feel like you're doing something in the moment, but overall, you're not doing anything. So you have to connect. You have to know your children. You have to know their likes, dislikes. You need to know their strength so you can pour into that. And you also need to know their weaknesses too. So you tell them to watch out. This is really where you're struggling. But it has to be both. It's not just correction. And it's not just fathers need to be at home. Fathers need to be at home. I understand that. I had a father at home. But how are you showing up at home? Are you miserable at home? Do you show your kids that you're miserable? It's hard to be a dad. I can't believe you guys are all work so hard and you guys don't even, like, how are you showing up? Because I tell you, I hear from a lot of mothers that have husbands that are not single mothers, but they're carrying the load themselves. And their kids feel like their dad's not there. They don't have a man to talk to. Yet this guy's come to my page, Emotional Moms, and they go on my DM, and sometimes they don't. They just say it right there, "Whoa, all this could be solved if you're not a single woman." And I'm like, I know it sounds good, but can we like dive deeper into that? It's not just about being a single mom. They're married people that are not available to their kids. And this is fathers, this is mothers as well that work and just feel like I'm not going to do anything outside of that. I think a lot of kids are drowning in silence. A lot of kids are hurting because physically there's someone there, but there's no one there.
I get it. I was a guilty party, being successful outside of the house and failing inside the house. And from the outside looking in, it probably I did look great. We showed up. We were at places. My kids were afforded, different things. But for me, it was more, which is not an excuse. This is the history.
Mm-hmm.
I was embarrassed about how I showed up in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I put more effort into showing up where I was praised and revered the way I thought I should be, which was outside the house, chasing corporate dreams. And I say it often, I got to the top of the ladder only to realize it was leaned against the wrong building. So again, and I was exited from corporate. This is year 4, October 3rd, 2022. And this has kind of been my life since. And you mentioned your page. I definitely want to get to it. And you kind of walked into why you started it. How long has your page been in operation? How long has the movement been what it is?
Yeah. So my page hasn't been up that long. I started last year, last August.
Oh, now who's showing off? Now who's showing off?
I started last August. It's yeah. I failed as a mother, and let me correct that. I struggled as a mother being in corporate America, working 12-hour shifts, having a nanny at home, right? I was a mother as much as I could. And my husband worked too. And so I'm not saying this to make anyone feel bad. I'm saying what I said earlier because that was my life. I was present. We were present. And if you ask me, I was a damn good mom because, I would show up on my days off to their soccer game and all those games, which are nice. Sports mom and all that. But would I say I was pouring into my kids emotionally? Was I present? I think I was, but not as much as I should. And with boys who don't show their emotions, who are told, be a man, don't complain, don't cry, hold it in, men don't do this or that. I think it was harder on them because there was no outlet. There was no, hey, tell me what's really going on. Not that I didn't want to, but I think I was just caught up in the day-to-day and working. They're safe. The nanny's home with them, so she's doing whatever she's doing. And for me, I thought that was enough. But that was not enough. In retrospect, back then, I thought they're good. I mean, I'm here. How was school? Fine. Surface level. Not that I didn't ask. Oh, how was school? Fine. And, boys are always going to give you one word answer, especially if they feel pressure. I grew up in a family where you had to not be perfect, but there were expectations and standards. I carried that into my own household too. So my kids felt the need to be perfect. They felt the need to be perfect all the time. And they felt the need to not disappoint.
Speaking my language, I've of late learned the value of parenting my children for who they are, not necessarily for who I want them to be or who I wasn't that I wish I was, kind of thing. So that not wanting to disappoint, and it's dangerous all around. I found it very dangerous with my sons, especially my oldest son. My youngest son, my two younger kids are getting a very different version of me, which they should. It's 6 and 7 years difference between them and the next oldest.
You matured.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on your page. I was only hating just a little bit.
Well, I feel like I know. You see, we do this thing as parents where, because when I was struggling, you would never have known. Everyone are keeping up. How are your kids? Great. Fine. How was great? Wonderful. Delicious. Great kids. Never been better. Awesome. But that's not true most of the time. We're all kind of dealing with stuff. We're all kind of struggling. And I honestly I was in a different niche before. And it was like God was telling me, oh, this is not you. I get up in the morning to create content. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I don't know. But for this, it's like every day, it's like doing something meaningful. Because I say to myself, if I had this page while my kids were little, oh my God. Oh my God. And I hear that from a lot of moms that unfortunately their kids are like 20, 17, 18. They're like, where have you been? This is what I needed from day one. So I feel like it's resonating with a lot of moms, a lot of dads. So it's called emotional moms, but I have some dads that follow. But I feel like it's resonating because now we can finally talk about the real stuff, without hate. Any hate, I'm just like, I'm not with that. You can call me a single mom and bash me, but just, don't hate. Don't be hateful.
And the comment section,
it's crazy.
By and large, is a place for people to dump.
I know.
And I've had the challenge. I had to grow through that. Especially if you have a piece of content that takes off. And I fell victim to wanting people to understand when most people are not there to understand at all.
No, they're having a bad day. They're going to take it out on you. They it's just what it is. Yeah. And people that love you regardless. And it's not even about love or hate. It's just about if you feel like you're pouring out something authentically that will help somebody else, even if it resonates with 20 and the 100 are bashing you, it's worth it.
Yep.
It's worth it.
Is this what you do full time now?
So actually, not yet. Okay. I still have a corporate job. I'm a trained pharmacist. I don't say that because now, I don't know why I said that, because you start getting like the professional medical advice, and I'm like, that hat is not here. That hat, I'm not talking medical or stuff. I just don't want to. I've never mentioned that. I don't know why I did, but yeah.
It's out there now, exclusive. My wife is a pharmacy tech, so she talks stuff that I'm just
Hi, wifey. Yes. So I've done that for, I don't know. I don't want to age myself. 18 years, something like that. But yeah, I'm slowly losing that love, and then I have a new girlfriend now, so yeah, we might be exiting soon. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
I'm just gonna let that one resonate. Let people do with that as they please. I got a new girlfriend now.
My girlfriend is emotional
No,
moms.
I
Okay.
know.
All
I
right.
know. I know, but let the internet sometimes.
Yeah, I know.
What is we'll start to close, but
Yes.
what has the emotional mom's journey taught you about you?
Emotional moms has taught me that what I went through was not just about me. This is what a lot of moms are going through, getting the education out. Our kids are all, I always say, there's no bad child. I never want to say 100% of anything, but most kids are misunderstood. And especially our boys. And our boys are struggling. The stats out there are crazy. You might be providing Nikes, Air Force Ones for your son, but he's struggling. And most people will say, I give you everything. I never had that. You're ungrateful. But the truth is, everyone wants to feel that connection. Everyone wants to feel like they can come to you when they mess up. My boys couldn't do that before. They'll mess up and hide, and guess what? Things get worse because now they're hiding. Then they lie. Then what they did before is now worse because they're lying about what they did. I didn't give them that space to come to me to say, Mom, I messed up. And the greatest thing I gave my kids was to tell them I messed up royally when I was your age. And no, that does not give them permission to mess up. I hear that a lot. It humanizes you, makes you a human. A lot of kids say you don't understand, but when you come to their level, respect is number one. You're not going to talk to me crazy. Other than that, let's talk. What is it? Let's figure it out. You're not a bad child. You did a bad thing. We label our kids too much and it gets in their head. It does. Abusive language, I carried that into my parenting because in Nigeria is a norm. You're stupid. Why do you do that? You're lazy. You want to... And as kids, they internalize it. I still remember those words that were said to me when I was little, and I'm in my 40s. So I say that to say it's taught me that we're all struggling with the same thing. Most of us are. We carry generational trauma. We carry baggages from when we were little into our parenting. We swear we'll never be like our parents. But one day I had to look at myself in the mirror and say, my dad was great. My mom was a little on the mouthy side. And I found myself saying the same thing that she was saying. And I'm like, hold up. You have no business talking about your mom in that manner because you're doing the same thing, right? So I say that to say we all carry the same baggage. There are no perfect parents. We're only trying to do our best day by day. It's about the daily progress. Our kids need us available emotionally. They need to be able, if your kid cannot come to you when something goes wrong, you have work to do. They're not safe with you. They need to be safe with you. They need to be able to share with you. I could never tell my parents that I had a boyfriend at 14, 15. My kids tell me when they see a girl that they like, that they're dating, and we talk about it and we set rules, boundaries, they follow. My 18-year-old, 19-year-old, he tells me where he's going. He's going to see his girl. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be back at 7. We share locations. Got to be open. There's no taboo topic. We talk about sex. We talk about porn. We talk about masturbation. I do with my kids. And now my husband is, because he's a little conservative, like I said.
Yeah.
But I'm like, listen, if they don't hear it from you, they're going to hear it from the internet. I'd rather it come from me. We're going to talk about vaping. We're going to talk about drugs. Because they're athletes, I tell them, it's not about saying you can't do that. For kids, you have to give them a reason why. Son, you want to play football? Good. You need your lungs. If you do drugs, guess what? You may not have it. What you want to do? I'm not going to police you, but it's your dream, not mine. What are you going to do? So it's not good enough to say don't do. You have to give your kids reasons why. And how do you give them reasons why? You have to talk to them. You have to be emotionally involved and connected. Every day you speak words to them. And then you can't just speak and then do the opposite at home because they watch. If you're a dad and you're a mom, and then you're speaking life and telling them what to do and what you don't do. And they look at you sideways because you're in the corner vaping or doing drugs or talking to a man that's not their dad or doing whatever. And then you're coming to them, telling them, oh, you got to do right. Guess what? They're not going to listen. They're going to yes you to death, but they're not going to listen to you. They're going to do what you're doing. Well, mommy's doing that, I'm going to do that. Or daddy's doing that, I'm going to do that. So now that you know that, you do the opposite. If you're a man in the house, you treat your woman with respect. You treat her like she's a queen. You don't have to bid it down your son's head to do that. He sees that. The first time my son came into the car, he was going to pick up a girl. I drove him there because he was 17 at the time. He wasn't driving. He opened the car door for her. I didn't tell him that. He treats his women or his girlfriends the way he sees my husband treat me. Same with my daughter. She's a princess, and she will demand that someone treats her really good. But she's also someone that, will treat you good as well. So it all starts from the home. Fathers, be present in your kids' life, in your children's life, your son, your daughters. And whoever you're with in the home, treat them with respect because our kids watch everything. You may think you're slick about it, but they're watching. You cannot earn their respect when you're telling them to do A and you're doing B. It's not going to work. It's just not. So, yeah, that's my page in a nutshell.
I am committed to tackling vices this year. It's been on the docket to discuss specifically pornography. And I know that one can't go undiscussed. I put up a post a couple of days ago and saw how it resonated. Said the seed of pornography can't be unplanted. And we typically don't understand what a vice is doing to us until it has done it to us.
Absolutely.
So I can't I can't afford to let
it's hard.
Yeah, it's
hard.
You know what? It's not. It's my perspective
the availability
on
of it is what I'm saying. It's everywhere.
Gotcha. Addressing it is what I was disagreeing with, not what you were saying.
Okay.
Isn't hard, it's preferential. Like we choose hard things to do often. We choose uncomfortable things to do often.
Yeah.
Those choices typically don't point to us showing our flaws, though. In a real way. Right? Very surface level.
Yeah, talk about the hard stuff.
Yeah, I can't afford to. We get pretty like my platform is either you get it or you don't. I mean, we have fun on the show, but it's not to be entertained. If you listen long enough, it's going to challenge you to look at you. And I believe that's my ministry on this earth. And again, not that I would not be evolving as well and changing. So it's just kind of doing it in front of the camera. So I applaud you for doing it. I know what that's like.
Yeah.
Especially as you get more attention. It's all cool at first. And then when you realize that people come to you to hear what you say.
Right.
Like it's something to manage. So I appreciate you. I appreciate your platform. There's one question that I always ask the guys. Well, typically because I was only talking to men for a long time. And I referenced it at the beginning. It's the show is Dear Son, which most people know, but it's comma, what I wish my father told me. What's something that you wish your father told you?
Wow. I looked at my dad as a mini God. I wish he told me that he was imperfect too. It was okay to be imperfect. In my eyes, he did everything right. I'm sure he struggled on the inside, holding it together. But I don't think I would have loved him any less if he showed a little imperfection. So I wish he would have told me, I'm imperfect. I'm not perfect. Yeah.
I get that completely. Any other thing you want to plug? Your page information will be linked down below. Do you have any other things, any other platforms? I know your IG. Are you anywhere else that you want people to know?
I'm basically on IG. I mean, I have my TikTok, same name, but IG for mothers and fathers that have teen sons. I have an amazing product. It's called End the Shutdown because I hear that a lot from parents, and I too dealt with it. It's a system. Yes, it's a mini ebook, but then it's also very important scripts, flashcards that are handy and very on point that will help
Okay.
you de-escalate situations. So that's on my page as well. But yeah, I'm here I feel like I'm on a mission to help us parents, especially those that feel like they have to put up a front to others that everything's okay, that they don't need help. Everything is hunky dory when it's usually not. My page is a safe space to help us figure this out because I went through the same things. And now that I'm on the other side with my children, I see the impact, I see the beauty of our relationship. And my goal is to have other parents have the same with their sons.
Awesome. So if you send me that link, I'll make sure that's linked below. Of course, your IG, but if you want to book the link directly,
Okay.
create one less step for people to do to get to your book.
Okay.
I definitely appreciate it. And I hope this isn't
This is crazy. Like 12:23. I'm like, when you first sent me the link, I was like 11 to 12:30. What the hell? I'm gonna be talking for 1.5 hours about what? And I looked at the time. I'm like 12:24. This was fun. I had a good time.
my job is complete. And with that, we appreciate you guys. God bless you. Peace.